Welcome to Saturday JJ Zoom. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Justin Kramer. I'm taking over for JJ today. I'm actually really flattered that he would have me on and run the show and be able to drive this boat without running it into a reef. So I really appreciate that, JJ. I'm really excited about our next guest. I've been excited to hear her presentation since JJ first announced it. And I want to introduce her. She's started as a student. She's became an investor. She's a teacher. She's actually a professor. And she's my friend, and she's JJ's really good friend. I want to introduce Sevealyn Smith. Sevealyn, thank you for joining us today, and I appreciate you being here. And I can't wait to hear your presentation.
Hello. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm really interested to hear this talk. I know you came out of the Fortune Builders mentorship, right?
Right.
Great. So what before you got into real estate, what were you doing before you started down this journey?
Well, I was in education. I was a teacher, and I taught at a university here in North Carolina for 38 years. My area is music. So we taught music. I was a choral director, taught voice, did some teaching of opera and little drama here and there with it. So I then went into administration, and for most of the years was in administration as well as teaching.
Wow, that's great. And so for those of us who don't know you, what part of the country are you in?
I live in North Carolina. I'm originally from West Virginia.
Well, that's great. I love West Virginia. I haven't been there in a long time, but I like West Virginia. So let me ask you this. When you first got into lending, or better yet, when you first got into real estate investing, what was it about lending that attracted you to that side of the business?
One of the things I really, from the beginning, thought I wanted to do something a little more passive. And when I've completed my career in education. So I thought about, if lending might be one of the things, but definitely to hold rentals. Well, on a teacher's salary, it doesn't always work that way because you may not have enough money and to put into properties like you would like. But I do have a little bit that perhaps I can help other investors get the property under contract. So that's how I came into private lending.
Interesting. And that's huge, because I know in the teaching profession, that doesn't always work out, right? So that's great. So I'm curious also, and this is something JJ, has changed my life and my business with as well. But how important is it for your business and what you're doing to network, and how important has social media been for your journey and for your business?
Networking is so important in everything you do, whether we know it or not. When we are at churches, when we are, anywhere on earth, we really do network. We just don't see it, and we don't do it intentionally. Right. So for me, the purpose and the need that I had was to come out of being an introvert, and began to meet people on a regular basis. And having JJ's inviting me to this platform was crucial to me beginning to move forward in what I'm doing, including buying property, doing the wholesale here and there. So, it was critical. The other piece, which was a funny part for me, because as a teacher, I was in charge of a group of students that were honors college, and they had social media. And I looked at it and I handed it off to one of the students, said, "You like social media? It's yours." And so they did all the social media. And, unbeknownst to me, here I am now looking at social media. So it was JJ provided the education I needed to get started with that.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to put my 2 cents in, since coming to JJ's networking group is just a no-brainer for me.
Yes.
it's a place to come network and build relationships and meet like-minded people. And it really has changed the game for me. And I know it's the same for you. How long have you and JJ known each other? How long have you been a part of the group?
I believe I joined the group about almost, well, let's see, I came in 2020, I think.
Okay.
2020.
Nice. That's excellent. Well, real quick, if you guys are not aware, and I'm gonna real quick show you, if you don't mind, Sevealyn, I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. I want to show JJ's page here for those of the folks, the people watching that aren't aware of where his page is and where to find this group. So JJ's website, and you can find it right here, jjazizian.com. And you can see on this page right here, I apologize, I'm going to get my nonsense out of the way here. But you can see right here, when you come to this page, and again, it's jjazizian.com. When you come to the front page, it's the register now button. You want to click on that register now button, and it's going to take you to the registration page. But also on JJ's homepage, there's a lot of great resources here. He's got his events. If you come to the events calendar, you can see all of the upcoming events. For example, today's speaker, I'm going to find her right here. There's her lovely picture. And you can click to register for this call and join the call. And then all of JJ's amazing Flip Side Up YouTube videos you can find right up here at the top, Flip Side Up with JJ. So if we go to his YouTube channel, you can see he's got just an amazing library of content here from some of the rock stars in Sub2. And for those of you who don't know who Sub2 is, go look them up. They're one of the premier real estate investing mentorships out there. And then obviously JJ's networking group is the one and only networking group, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I am a little biased, obviously, but no doubt is one of the best networking groups I've ever been in. And he's got, think about something real quick. If you're in one of these mentorships, as they grow in prominence, it's a lot harder to meet these people, a lot harder to meet the rock stars and the leaders in these groups. JJ's got them all here. They all come into JJ's mentorship and JJ's networking, and he's got all of the content right here. And you can watch the interviews that he's done with these people. Just amazing. So come and register, subscribe, and get on the bandwagon, because it's really, really worth it. That being said, Sevealyn, I'm going to go ahead and let you run through your presentation. Thank you again for coming here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. I'm really excited to hear this information. This year, especially 2023, is I've talked to many people about this, but it's the year of funding. It's not necessarily the year of the deal. It's the year of finding funding. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away. Take it away, Sevealyn.
So again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank JJ for asking me to speak. I am so excited about this particular topic. And I'm also excited about talking a little more in this on why it's important to understand private money lending, and the fact that financial literacy and independence is critical to what we need in our country today. So that's just my statement. I wanted to get that out there because it is tied together. You heard a little bit about me, but basically I've studied numerous programs. And one of which was, besides Fortune Builders, I did go through Lee Arnold's educational system to become a certified private money lender. They said broker, but I had a different need. I think we need to consult and know exactly what we're going to do. It's not just selling and making sure somebody buys the goods. It's understanding what one needs in the process. And so I want to be a consultant, and that's why everyone sees consultant. I also have a company, Bluefields Property Solutions. In that, I'm working and squatting up as much as I can, learning how to squat up more to help other investors find properties. So I'm looking at the wholesale side, and I've worked with Scott Jenkins in that. He's been one of my excellent mentors. And this just gives a rundown a little bit of what we talked about, things I do, my service to community, avid Rotarian. One of the things I didn't sort of talk about, though, was the fact that I love golf. I don't know how many golfers you got out there. If you do, put it in the chat. I love golf. It's one of the things that gets you more exercise as you walk. So, this is a little bit about me. I'm going to move on because that's not important. But this is my biggest influencers. And, we talk about influencers when you look at social media. But in this instance, I want just to take a moment to talk about two people who really taught me something about being saving, looking at how we use our money. So I grew up with my mother, who was avid in financial literacy. She wanted us to know how to save and how to maintain our money. Now, growing money like we're talking about now was different. She didn't know about that, but she really understood that. My godfather had this thing about growing the money. And we learned later on that he'd grown a significant amount of money that he left for my godmother, and no one knew it was even happening, okay? The other piece I want you to know about my mother is that she was the first that really got me interested in being a fix flipper, whatever you want to call it, because she spent her time rehabbing our home that we lived in. My mother was a foster mother, and she had a lot of children that came in and through the home, which that she helped, and there was never enough room. So she kept adding on to the home until we went from about 3 rooms to 11. So she built about 4 sections to the house with loans, doing the project managing, the whole thing. And she had to do it because that was, she had no choice. There was no education. Her education was on the go. So that's how my interest in real estate came to be. So I am a teacher, and I have to have participation. So I have a few little questions here to ask, and you can just put a yay and no. First one in the chat, just tell me whether or not have you lent money to anyone in your life? Family member, friend, just anyone. How do you know you are lending to a reputable person or company? Those are questions we want to consider today. Now, before we get started, I am going to put a disclaimer. This presentation is not going to render any legal, accounting, or investment advice. And I do highly recommend that you seek advice in one of these areas. Please consult a competent financial advisor, attorney, or CPA. This is for information and educational purposes only and should not be construed as a solicitation to submit a loan application to anyone. So our primary objective here is to identify lending opportunities that is a good fit between both a borrower and a lender. And in addition, to secure the asset's value. Okay, that's all this is about. Here's the agenda. Understanding your current role as a real estate investor, needing private money for your project. So let's start at the beginning. First of all, we come into this because we're going to be investors. We want to buy properties. We want to wholesale, do something that causes exchange of money in hands. So on that side, you need to understand that side first. And then we're going to talk about a definition of a private money lender and knowing what private lenders require from investors, because that would be similar to what you're going to require when you have someone coming to you to borrow money. And then there's the investor-lender mutual vetting process. We love to trust each other totally, without a doubt. We just want to trust each other and just think, sing kumbaya, and everything's great. But we really do need, in every instance, to look at what the investor has done and what they've done as far as, finishing projects, how much experience. So we'll talk about that. Vice versa, on the lender side, we need to know that the lender follows through on providing the money. And so there's some ways of looking at that and criteria to meet. And then understanding your current role as a private money lender. It's phenomenal what it can do and how it can help so many investors when you get it right and when you stay on top of, making sure you hit your responsibility to your borrower. The big question, where have you looked for money? Just sort of throw it in the chat. And Justin, if you see it, can you just read a couple of them out?
I've looked for hard money. I've looked for private money. We look, a lot of times look in Facebook, in our Facebook groups, but we also typically reach out to people that we trust, right? People that we know, and maybe for recommendations, that kind of thing.
There you go.
Yeah, personal network is one of them from Stephanie. Family and friends. Our meetups is a great one. Real estate meetups. That's a really good one. Savings and loan, right? Walking into the bank with hat in hand, asking, please, sir, please lend me money.
Yeah, getting on your knees practically.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now, what are the challenges you've had in finding money, or challenges, I should have added, challenge you've had that, once you've had money? Anyone had challenges after you got the money from an investor?
Yeah, wanting to get the loan back before the due date.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's many, anything can happen. Every deal has sort of got its own fingerprint, right? So,
right.
Yeah, there's lots of things that can come up, definitely, when borrowing private money.
Right. Okay.
One of the biggest things for me is negotiating, terms.
Okay.
And kind of there's a lot of, so far in my experience, there's a lot of, especially in the Gator lending tribe community, there's a lot of people that are asking for really high rates, like extremely high rates, almost, I would even go as far as say borderline predatory, right? Especially
exactly.
So you got to watch out.
Right. Yeah. So I've been listening to some of the things that's happening with that because, we have to help each other. And the reason I love this community is that's what it's really about. And that's the purpose of us as investors becoming private money lenders, to actually help the other individuals who are able to get the deals, who have, they're gifted, if you will, in how to get the property together, get it back on the market, those things. And some of us, we just have to find where we fit. We have to find where we fit and see how we can help and make an impact. So this is about doing that through being lenders. So you have two types of lenders. And when you were talking about the money lenders, Justin, the biggest thing I find is that you'll hear private money lending, and then you find out they're a company, okay? A private money lending company. And then we have those of us like myself. I'm just an individual, a retired school teacher that's lending money, okay? So what's the difference between the private money lending company and a hard money lender?
I would say nothing.
Absolutely. Not one thing is different. You set up a business and you go through the same identical hoops that you go through for the hard money lender. The only difference may be that a lot of old school teachers and doctors, lawyers may want to put their money into this one big bag and let the company run it. And because they are private lenders lending the money into the company or putting the money there so it will work, that is how they use the term private money lending. But they do hard money concept. So I love that someone was saying where you looked for money, because some private money lenders are individual lenders in my mind. And those are the ones that I am looking at. There are people there that are They have little nest eggs, and I do mean little because I remember being a teacher, you don't get a lot of pay, so it's little. But you can take some of that and help yourself by lending to investors who are doing work, hopefully helping families with homes. And you can go and help them by being a private lender. So your family, I don't know, some families can help, some can't. Friends, this really came, so I don't want to take credit for all this because this education I paid a lot of money to get. It was a lot of information. So I pulled those things that was prevalent and I felt, and to me was an important piece. So when you're looking at, they say, start with family, friends, church members. They say that can be your very first group of private lenders, people who sort of know you. And then, if it doesn't work, then you begin to look other places. Well, this is one place, but I believe the biggest thing, because we know each other and we know the trials and tribulations, fellow real estate investors could probably do a much better job at helping one another. Squatting up in different ways, being very creative in how we work together and use the money that we have. So that's why you see fellow real estate investors. I love it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through and talk about the investor lender and a mutual process, a vetting process. Because, you can be a friend to someone. I can love somebody to death. I can love my foster children, my students who were great students. But when it comes to money, you have to have a process to make sure that they are ready to borrow the money, or in some instances, on the other end, they have the potential of being excellent lenders. So there has to be a vetting process. And sometimes people get a little upset when you do this because it means you're saying you don't trust me. No, it means that you want to protect both sides of the individuals who are participating in the activity. So in the lender, in both ends, we want to build rapport. JJ always talked about the Ford approach. You want to know about families and your opportunities, what you believe in, your dreams, recreation, occupation, all those things are very important. So you want to build the relationship. And I think that's the first thing we have to do. So it's not something can be done overnight, like going to a loan office and say, I want a loan. How long have you want to know how long, for example, on the lender side, how long have you been lending? Or have you been lending? Rates and terms, because most of the time, if they've been lending a while, even if they're individuals, they're busy. A lot of people coming to them, so it's going to be a little higher.
And let me ask you, Sevealyn, how important is it, would you say, to make sure you're doing this process before you actually get into a situation with a deal? How important is it for you to have done this and built those relationships before you're in a situation
critical.
where you need
it's
it?
Critical.
Right.
It's absolutely critical. You can lose friendships without going through this. Again, and you will hear me say this again, so I learned this from my mother. The first person that turned me down for a loan was my mother, which was a good thing. The reason, because she knew what I was asking was not the right thing. So, you have business is business. Love and being a child is another thing. So you got to use that same mentality. And that's the mentality I use when I'm talking to someone about wanting to be a lender or to a borrower. So this is, you can be best buddies. But when it comes down to business, then this is a business. It's not something you can say, oh, I know you, and I'll just throw it at you. You got to use the same criteria for everyone. So if it's a family member, you should go through the same criteria. If it's and someone just a nice person, somebody in the church, you got to have a process, because in business, processes matter. You can get sued if you're, playing favorites. So this is why we look at the vetting process. So everyone knows exactly what to expect. Now I'm giving you the hardcore one in particular, because if you start here, then we can, as you get to know folks, you can begin to make it, a little more of your own. But I'm using a hardcore approach to finding lenders and making sure the investors are in good standing. For example, most of us had not done the deal and we were looking for money. So we go to the hard money lender who's going to charge us 12, 13, 14, 15% interest, because that's all we can get. Okay. And that's, you got to show that you have skin in the game, and you also have to show that you are credible. The only way, and I wish someone had sort of said it in a way or hit me over the head with it earlier when I was trying to do wholesaling and wanting to do flips and all this stuff. The only way you can do that is to get with experienced people and work on their team, work with them. And once you do that and you begin to get that experience, then you can move into your own piece, and but you might not want to. Hey, I like working with people. I won't leave a team approach if I just need to work with team. I'll do the grunt work. That's where I am at this point. So how long, what the rates and terms, and I know you said negotiation, Justin, you were talking about negotiating the terms. As lenders, you should already have terms that you are going to set forth before them. Now, you can have discussions, but here it is. Here's the terms, and this is how it works. Mm-hmm. And I don't know too many lenders, particularly if they're seasoned, that allows you. I don't know. Have you been able to negotiate terms?
Just in the beginning, when we were talking, starting our relationship, just talking about the terms, and I would go over the specific deal with them and show them, like, okay, if we pay this interest rate for this, it's going to completely kill this deal. Is there something else we could work out where we can still both win? Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the idea, is we want it to be a win-win situation. And I know there's a lot of lenders about, this is where we're at. This is what we're going to do. Yep. Take it or leave it. And so that's fine. But again, it's all about building relationships.
So let's just sort of look at the borrower side. And again, this is the one that they use. In fact, Fortune Builders lays this out for private money lenders. This was their private money lender. What I would say is there are certain pieces of information here that you should always keep in a folder, in the cloud or wherever, permanently. So, for example, as you build your experience, keep that on, you could call it an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to show that. Investor portfolio, if you've got your rentals, a copy of the valid ID, your LC documents, a critical piece. Okay, those should be in a folder where you can get to it if you need it. So let's say all of a sudden you do say, well, I'm going to try to get something from this particular hard money lender. Seems like a good guy. We've made some relationship. Here's, so you don't have to go looking for it or saying, okay, I got to make a copy now and a copy here. You have it all in a folder for your need to find money. So you have your borrower's information that you keep on there. So I tell particularly new folks to make sure you have that. The other thing, which has always stuck out for me, is this proof of funds. When you are looking, your seller wants the proof of funds. I don't know. Many of you can tell me in the chat if you want. There are these loan areas, lenders who will give you a proof of funds. Mm-hmm. And you can put in literally whatever you need in there and show it to a seller. Do you think that's a good thing to do? Yes or no? because, and a lot of folks have done that. I mean, I was in a program that was using that model. Because if you don't take that loan and you've seen it, here's, the document that you turned in, then that's sort of not being quite truthful. So you want to make sure that if you have a proof of funds, that it's legitimate in my mind. So I'm just telling you what Sevealyn.
And by the way, I would just add something that's getting harder and harder to do. A lot of legitimate sellers or and even agents right now, if they're asking for a proof of funds, they're usually they're now starting to ask that you get it signed by your lender or signed by the bank. So you can't, because there's a lot of ways to be less than truthful with that stuff. So it's more prevalent now. So it's getting harder to get away with that kind of thing.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Working. Absolutely.
Okay. If you have rentals, this is the other thing. If you, of course, maintaining your portfolio and make sure that you have everything, because that, of course, is part of the experience that you have. And then as you have the property, of course, you need your hazard insurance and all that in place. For lenders, watch the junk fees. Oh boy, are they happy with junk fees. That just, that by the time you do that, the cost is up. Okay, so the lender, you make and keep the commitment to lend a specific amount of money for a real estate venture. Provide the proof that you have the funds. We talk about proof of funds on our end as the borrower. Lender, you need to let me make sure I know that you really have this money. Don't have me in front of the escrow and no money there. Okay, so you need to, somehow they need to make sure that, they can tell you that, show that they have been lending or that they have the money available. And then to make sure that they transfer the funds to the title company by the specified day. There's been a couple of times that I've found, folks say the money didn't get there. So we had to, we signed and then we had to wait for the money to get there. I think having the money in place, let's close it on the date that we said we're going to close. From the borrower side, you need to make sure that you make a presentation. So and while I'm going through this, because these things, you're going to ask for these things from the borrower when you are the lender. I know you all may have worked together, but as if someone is borrowing money from you, you want to know everything that you need to know about the subject property. They need to be able to tell you, one, about what they've done, their experiences. They need to show you the lending opportunity, which is what I call is the presentation of the lending opportunity. How much the purchase price, the after repair values, how much work is going to be done, scope of work, all that still needs to be there, because you need to know, how long it's going to take. And, usually most of these are, of course, a year. And then they're going to sign a promissory note. You're going to, for you. And you're going to, of course, be first on the mortgage and deeds of trust, and you're going to be first on the hazard insurance. That's a first position loan. It's a little, looking at this for private lender, an individual private lender, this is all that it really takes to make that deal work. Okay. You don't have to, you're not jumping through hoops of an application. That's why we want to build more real private lenders who will work with us, and that's not in a company or a developed company. And then you want to be able to have repetitive use of that money. I'm with the same person that I started with, and one deal gets over, we start another deal. One gets over, you start another deal. So you want to have someone, or one or two or three, that you can go to at any time for the funding. And as long as you keep something in the portal to go to the next job, then they're more than happy to let you hang on to that money. You just go recycle. Okay. So here's an action plan. And, while we're talking about lending, what we have to do is go back to the beginning. We need to look at our own personal finances, our business financing, and to determine we have funds available to lend. Okay. I mean, it's nice, but you want to make sure that, you've got a cushion where you can lend to an investor and know that, God forbid something catastrophic happens that we can't, that's beyond normal terms. Yes, there may be a problem, but in general, just making sure that your personal financing and your business financial situation is in order. And then you want to evaluate personal finances to see if you have that extra cash that you can use. Okay. So I recommend that, and again, here we go. I want you in the chat. Do you do a personal financial statement on a regular basis? You set goals for financial improvements with that. Do you complete a financial statement and, you put your budget together? I put, for both. What's your budget? And then what did you spend? Is there any money left over? What's the cash flow? Okay. Determine how much money you are comfortable lending. There's some folks, everybody's those who will, they don't mind taking chances. I remember I had in one of the financial advisors I had, they wanted to know how, where was I in my ability to let go of the money? Am I moderate? Am I a maverick? Will I take chances? Or am I extremely conservative? So knowing where you are in that process is going to be very important. So you got to determine that. So again, that's where you have to speak with your accountant or financial advisor. And then you're going to set the necessary accounts or LLC to roll over the private lending funds. You don't, try to put it somewhere that you can just realize, okay, it's always going to come back into this particular account. And you leave it because it's going to grow. Just, let it sit. And that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Well, thank you so much. Let's go. I was just going to ask you real quick, Sevealyn. So this is your contact information.
Yes.
That's great. And for people watching, go sign up for JJ's group. Go to the website, register. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and Sevealyn, she's going to post her Calendly information in the Facebook group. But go check us out. Thank you so much, Sevealyn. This was an amazing presentation. We have some questions as well, so I'm going to bring some folks up.
All right.
Tight, real quick. What's your question for Sevealyn?
Okay, Sevealyn, first of all, thanks for the information. Well, it was great.
Sure.
Quick question. Maybe it's two questions in one. Do you land on second position? If you do, how do you protect yourself? Especially because you're going to lend to an LLC. And some of those LLCs, they just created, right? A week ago, just to get into a deal, whatever. So how do you protect yourself there?
Well, one, as I said, you have to build a relationship with the lenders. First of all, if it is a new investor that has not done jobs or only very minimal type of jobs, I encourage them to team up with a seasoned investor. I do not lend specifically to someone who's brand new, but what I try to do is to help them make the connection. I know JJ's taught us a lot. I'm your lending connector. I want to encourage individual private lenders to work with our investors. And in order to do that, I'm sort of the middle person. I try to consult and say, here's what for you to do this, you're going to need this. Like some of the things I was telling you that I said, I want you to have everything before I introduce you. You need to have this type of information. You need to practice putting together a packet to present to a private lender. And on the other side, I'm talking to a private lender. I've just had a couple. I've got 2 or 3 that I've just worked with, 2 in particular that's come on board. They're in the education area. And those, I'm really trying to get those folks who are in the education area or our first responders, those folks, to on board because, one, they don't make it. If we can just help with small loans, then they're getting started in the right direction. So I also train them. I'm a teacher. What do? I teach. And so I work with both sides to make sure that they are prepared. And then I bring them together in a Zoom meeting and introduce them. We get a chance to talk. And I usually start with seasoned folks, people who's done some deals. And I let the new ones say, hey, let's work with folks, let's work with who's your mentor? How about getting on board and working with your mentor on a project or 2, and then work your way so you can gradually, get to where you can say, I can do a project. And I know, I remember I was told, you need to go to a hard money lender straight out the gate when I was looking for money. You need to go to a hard money lender. And I went, and I did. I went to a hard money lender. In fact, it wasn't a bad experience at all. It was just that the way I'd set up some money that I thought I was going to use, I couldn't use it that way. I have a self-directed IRA where I pulled funds from my retirement, and I forgot I can't use it unless I'm going to buy the entire thing in that in the self-directed. So it fell through, but very good person here in Raleigh. So yes, you can protect yourself. If it is someone who would like to do, needs a second position and they're experienced, the rate is a little higher. I do have a little higher rate if it's second position. Okay.
Which that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're taking a risk, you're taking more
Right.
of a risk in second position. So that would make sense. Well, that's great. Edgar, was that
Helped
good?
a lot.
Great.
It helped a lot. Thank you very much, Sevealyn.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. We do have another question. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Laura. Hello, Laura. Come to the stage. How are you?
Hi, Sevealyn.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Always. I guess my question has to do mostly with negotiating those terms. So with a lender, so say I'm the borrower in this case, then and maybe vice versa too, in terms of, if you're the lender in this case, like both sides of this question. So, but as the borrower, the lender is charging quite a few points, and I think it's related to a level of experience. And so how do you navigate through that? We're already friends. We've got a relationship going. And I want to do business with this person. But I just kind of feel like the terms are a little steep, And so what's the best way to not ruin the relationship? And yet, it's been a couple of times that I've walked away from the lender because I thought everything was too steep. So, and maybe it's just that I don't know how to say, hey, like, how do I
did you tell them? One, if you walked away from me twice, that would tell me that, you didn't want to hire me for my money because I was too steep. But have you ever said to the individual, I cannot do?
Yeah. I said, what do you mean 4 points?
Yes.
So, talking to a friend,
Okay. Well, sometimes it can be friends, but you just can't do business together.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like.
But then even on the lender's side, okay, maybe this is what, he has arranged certain terms with his pocket full of lenders, so to speak. And so those are his, that's what he has. And so I guess I'm looking at it from his point of view too, like what, so where is that middle ground? I mean, how do you get there?
So, and are you saying, so he has, let me just see if I understand what you're saying. The person you were trying to get to become your lender, it has been doing lending for some time. You're not the only person.
Right.
Starting to lend.
Lender.
Very experienced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the key points to this. There's no way, if these are the points in what he's been charging everyone he's lending to over a period of time, he can't, he can love you to death, but he can't change just to say, oh, Laurie's my best friend, I'm going to go, I'm going to take it down, because that would be illegal, I believe. I've just, you have to do, and we hear about this with the lending and the evaluations of properties based on race and everything else. And, it's lower, the value is lower when it's African-American or some other person of color, and it's better when they had somebody friend who put pictures up. See, so if this is an established lender, there's no way, and I would certainly not recommend to him that he change what he has been using, because that's what has been working. Right. So you can just, it's just not where you can use it now. We got to find you some other lenders.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Laura.
Yes. Great question.
All right. We're going to bring up our next question. This is from David. Hello, David. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, guys.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, again, I'm a fortune builder student, just like you are.
Sure.
And, they taught us, the contracts and things to use. Do you use those contracts?
I do use contracts. I do.
Okay. Second question is, because I'm a general contractor, we always have to deal with lien waivers. Do you get those signed?
So far, I've not, I deal with a fortune builder. Actually, she was coach. So I've not, as far as a lien waiver, we've not done it. We've been working. I mean, I went to the properties with her. I mean, I've just been all up in her Kool-Aid business for so long. But I will look at, thank you for bringing it up, but I will look at that myself in a little more.
Yeah, because that's it's a safety net for you also.
Yeah, I think, David, you were asking specifically if she uses the fortune builder contract specifically, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the contract, it's either their contract or it's been amended to some, to fit in the area where it is. They give you generic everything.
Yeah.
It's just plain generic. So you can't say, I'm just going to take this and do it. It has to go through, and you got to talk to your attorneys. We use attorneys in North Carolina, and you just have to, tweak and do whatever it is. So whatever is being used has been placed for what's in North Carolina, or sometimes in Virginia, sometimes the properties in South Carolina. It just depends. But there's about 3 states that this investor's in.
So what if the property's in California?
Then you need to make sure that you get it approved. So that's wherever you are, you need to have those contracts approved and to make sure they fit the state and the statutes there, period.
Yeah, I have a attorney on retainer. So
yes,
we go through, make sure everything's good on it. And then also as a private money lender, do you set your own rates or do they set rates?
I do. No, I set my rates.
You do?
Yeah.
Because I always like to pay higher than what, everybody else is paying,
Yeah. Well, let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you set rates. I set my rates at an area where I was helped with that because as a new person lending, I just threw up my hand. It was a question, who wants to lend? And I went, me.
Mm-hmm.
And so this particular investor said, okay, let's go do it. And we've been at it probably 3 years or more now. And that's why I was saying I do it with the same person over and over and over again.
Yeah. So then the last question is, obviously some of these, especially out here in California when we had the COVID and all that, we weren't able to get, materials.
Right. Yeah.
We weren't able to work, blah, blah, blah. I mean, thank God, I was able to work because I had my own construction company, here in the Palm Springs area. And we were able to work up to 5 people at the time. But what's the length of contract for you? Do you go all the way out to, like 9 months?
Well, I always recommend that every investor should set a 1 year.
Yeah.
One full year on their.
We're having a difficult time right now with our last flip right now. It's absolutely beautiful. And, but the market just took a tank.
Yeah.
And we're actually looking to do a DSCR on it. Just rent it out. We've just taken it off the market because I pulled $15,000 off of it. And we still didn't get any hits on it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So with the new experiences that we're having with the COVID and now the return, of getting products, getting what you needed. Here in our area, we were having trouble getting permits. I mean, it was insane. I've got folks who just losing their minds trying to get the permits to finish up their work.
Yeah. You got to know somebody.
Yeah.
It's in the office.
Yeah, but if you think as many times as they've been working, I mean, this is, I'm thinking, it's just insane. And so that has made it very difficult. I know some who just said, we're not doing it anymore. But I would say if you have to go, and I would say hindsight's 2020, because we are running into this, you might want to think in terms of putting in a little incentive. If it would have been, is it cheaper or is it better to stay with the lender you got, or are you just going to refinance through this next piece to get this, at a lower rate or whatever you have to do?
Yeah.
DSCR. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just have to sort each individual project. You'll have to determine what it is and what the best route, because you're going to have to look at your numbers. What was your budget? How much is your budget blown? If you can negotiate now, that's where I would say negotiate. If you can negotiate your lender to maybe become, I don't know, do a little bit creative financing type of thing?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet, but we just had a flip that was last year, and of course the market was just like just absolutely crazy, but we were able to buy it for like $330,000. I put $260,000 into it, but we sold it for $980.
Right.
So, but right now, I mean, it's just gone the other direction.
Right. Yeah.
It's good to know, and I'd love to talk to you.
Great. Yes, we need to get on. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your question.
This is a tough market right now.
It is.
I mean, really, in California, I was talking about this earlier, but from May 22 to December 22, property values in California went down 10%, which is more than they went down during the 2008 crash. So we're at the lower end. We're actually 3/4 of the way there to the lowest part of the 2008 crash. We're almost there.
Did I say one more thing? Mm-hmm. So our house, we just found out that there's over 100 homes priced at our price point for sale.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's crazy. You just can't do it.
Well, David, thank you so much for your question. Did she get your question answered for you?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you again for the question. Much appreciated. And thank you, Sevealyn. All right, we got a few more. Boy, thank you guys for the questions. This is great. So I'm going to bring up Mario. Mario's our next contestant on The Price is Right. Bring him up to the stage. Hello, Mario.
There you go. How you doing? Good. How you doing today?
Hello.
Good. All right. Yeah. First, thank you. That was very informative. Former mortgage banker here, so I learned.
Okay.
Second, I do the play of Raw Land to Fully Entitled. That's my big play. Do you lend on raw land?
I've not lent on raw land. Usually it's with with property that, it's going to be rehabbed. Used to be fixed and flipped, or going to be a quick wholesale or a hotel. Now it's been basically, we're into rentals a lot. So they're more long term. But there are folks, if I can build up enough, I wouldn't say I wouldn't.
Right.
But right now, with the market the way it is, if you have to hold that land extremely long, because it's, unless it's right in the perfect sweet spot of where people want to buy, those are things you'd have to look at and determine if, you can find a lender. And
yeah, I mean, I'm mainly looking for the acquisition price, which usually we're in it for $500,000. Takes about different states. Obviously, I'm in 19, so certain states are quick in 6 months, and others up to 18.
Okay.
The other question is, if I do a portfolio, so in other words, let's say I'm taking down 400 subjects in a thing, that's what I'm looking for, is the acquisition of the package. Is that something you would also entertain?
Well,
because they'll take the $30 million portfolio and negotiate it down to $9 million.
Okay, I think so. Let me be very clear that I don't do large loans because I'm a teacher. I've got small, but what we can do is try to see if we can find someone. And I don't know how many private lenders, there may be some out there, but as our network, hopefully we can find some folks who will do that type of large portfolio. And they're not, many of them have made it into a company, just to be honest. They are now an LLC, even though they are private lenders. So that would be something we'd have to search, but I don't know anything right off.
Okay, I just want to reach out based upon what you had said. I think you're exactly what most newbie investors need, because you're there. I was a former teacher 15 years too, so I love teachers. Math and physics in high school and college, so
All right. Well, physics has something to do. Music and physics goes together.
There you go. That's
exactly. You're a whiz at underwriting.
There you go. Yep. So it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for all that information.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I had myself muted, but
great.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you all for your questions. It's been awesome. A great presentation, Sevealyn. That was really informative. And I know, honestly, every time I watch these or learn something new, I have 1,000 more questions, right?
Sure.
When you learn something, it's like, you think you're learning, but you're also, it also builds for me at least 1 million more questions in my mind that I have to go get answered, which is it's a good thing, right? That's how we learn.
Absolutely.
And the real truth is taking action, getting out there and making mistakes, and asking questions is really, really important. So, but thank you so much, Sevealyn. This has been awesome. And on behalf of myself and Sevealyn, we want to thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please go to JJ's website, jjazizian.com. Go register, sign up for the Facebook group. Go check him out on YouTube, on his YouTube channel, Flip Side Up with JJ. Go register for that, or subscribe to that, and go check out some of that content. It's amazing content, just like we did here. And thank you so much. and we'll see you again next time.